Today, we're going to talk about custom functions. What are they? Why do we need them? How do I build them? Pretty easy. You're going to hear a lot of times the need for custom functions. And what this does is help allow for automation in the various Zoho applications. Pretty much most of the applications you can build custom functions. A lot of them you pretty much use their custom scripting language, Deluge. And so we'll be taking a look at that, taking a look at some of the basics. But to get started, typically you're going to go to settings. From here, you can go several different ways. If you are associating your custom function with a workflow rule, then you can go under workflow rules. You can schedule a custom function to run either at various times on a regular basis, things like that. You can also go under actions and be able to create there. You can also come under developer space and create functions. So here's some ones that we have that have been built. And as you can see, some of them are associated, some of them are not. But we can do a new function here. You can name it anything. One thing to remember when you're doing the function name, if you're using multiple words, you either have to use an underscore to connect them, or you just put them together like that. But for the function name, but for the display, it will allow spaces. So if you want to break it up for the display, you can do so. Description, you can put any in here, typically what you would put to say what exactly the function is designed to do. And then category, it can be, a custom function can be used in several different ways. One of them is for a custom button. Automation is typically your workflow rules. The schedule is a set time, either every day or once a week, once a month, those type of deals where it's just going to run at specific times. A standalone can then be accessed from other aspects. A lot of times it will also be used to do API development, things like that. We are going to do a standalone for right now, and you can choose Deluge. But you can also write in Java or Node.js, but typically we do Deluge because that's the easiest across the board for most of the developers. Hit create, it's going to come up and to a blank editor. And basically, because I chose a standalone, that is typically a lot of times used in connection to buttons and other things. And so it's going to have a return statement. This is going to be the very last thing that you need in there. And so luckily it will put this in here for you. You just have to remember, put it at the end. You can also put a message in here. So let's just say we wanted a successful message to say your function ran correctly. You would put that here in between the quotes and say function completed successfully. At the end, once it ran, then that would pop up in a little window and show the user that function had completed successfully. One of the things about Deluge that you have to remember is pretty much 95% of the statements, you're always going to end with a semicolon. And that's how the system knows that that's the end of a statement. Some of the functions and stuff you'll see as you kind of get into the development of them, you'll start to see, let's just say like an if statement. And here's the neat thing about the editor, it's going to pop up and give you kind of examples. And as you see here, what you are checking for is going to be in parentheses, and then you're going to have your condition in there, and then your open bracket, curly bracket, then you're going to have your statements. So if this is true, what happens? And notice that you have in here, you have the semicolon here. You don't have it at the end of these, because this is the statement that's actually getting executed. This is just a check. Also, another important aspect to functions are edit arguments. And a lot of times, and I'll show you on some other ones, basically you can give it a name. Let's just say I want the account ID, and it's gonna be an integer. I save that. And then when this goes to run, it's going to automatically ask for the account ID. And so if I'm testing something, I'm going to go cut and paste that and then put that in. So then I could say account ID equals null, which it should not, right? Because we are entering it in. Then we can do the return statement, function failed due to null account ID. And that would give them, that would then quit the program. Anything you had else after here, if this condition was true, it would get out, it would be done. Otherwise, it's going to continue on and go and do whatever you need. So one of the things that you can do, typically a lot of times in a custom function, is you need to go get that specific record or set of records. So in this case, we wanted the account record. And since we're in the CRM, and that's what we're getting is the account record, this is the module name. If I actually put what I'm wanting, and I want to get record by the ID, since I know the ID had come in, and this is going to help you come up and give you suggestions of what you need. So the module is accounts, and the number was the account ID that was being entered. So I can remove this. Now it should grab that record, and then you can start getting whatever information you need from it, whether it's various fields. You can also loop through depending on the type of field, whatever is needed. So let's just say we wanted to see the name on the account. One of the places that we have to go look then is we need to be able to go see what the names on the accounts are. So I went up to settings, come down to API, we go to the API name, and we know that we're in the module accounts, account name, here's the API name. So if I want to grab this from the record, then I would say, let's say account name. These are the variables. And now since we know that we put it into the account record is the actual whole record, we need to get the specific field, which we just saw in the API name was account name. And if we want to check to see what that was, we can use info statements. Info statements are used for helping the developers really to test and see, make sure the right information is coming in and getting what they are expecting. You can do one of a couple different ways. I could just do account name, and that would pop up when I do the save and execute. It would ask for an account ID. So let's go grab an account ID. And so the ID number is up here in the command line. And so if I save and execute this, gonna copy or paste in, and here was the name. Now, to make it look a little better, I like to do, and this is just me maybe, but it makes it easier to follow along while you're going through, especially as you're getting multiple lines of code, you start getting a lot of information. I like to put in quotes, and then you use the plus sign. And now if we run that again, it tells me, so now I know that the account name, what I had to display. So as the program gets bigger, you can see how that affects. Now, this does not show outside. You're not going to see this as a normal user. This information will not pop up. This is just primarily for debugging as you're building and testing out. That is basically how you can build a function, a custom function. Custom functions are used all the time for customizing, whether it's making records look better, moving information. Sometimes it can make reports look better. A lot of times when they're used with workflow rules, you are basically looking for certain conditions to be met, and you need certain actions done that are not in the normal scope of your CRM or whatever application you are in. And so you find out what it is that you're wanting, typically from the client, then developer. With us, the consultants talk with the clients, they find out the requirements, and then they come to me as the developer, give me the specs of what they're expecting, what they want, and then I have to go out and build it. And so we use it, like I said, showed you the API names. We also can make API calls where we can call different programs. You can do that. You can also call other Zoho products using API calls. And so that's a little more advanced in custom functions, but those are things that you come across when building these at times. So I can close this, and as you can see, I didn't actually save my changes. So if I don't want to save them, I'd say yes, leave the page. If I want to make sure I save them, stay here and actually hit save. That is pretty much it. I am just going to close. I will show you some more areas, like I said, under automation, workflow rules. These, let's just look at this one. A quick one here. So this says this rule is executed when a case is created or is edited to meet any conditions. Condition is the status contains close, and if so, then it sends an email notification called case not closed. This is a workflow that doesn't use a function. Not all workflows do. You can do all kinds of actions on here. This new format that has recently been added shows you how much in the last 7 days this has been used. This one has not been used, which happens. Not everything gets used every day. This one has a function, and you can see in the past 7 days, it has ran once and ran successfully. And this is whenever a proposal is created or edited. So when making a workflow, it would start off, you name it, it's going to ask what module you're working in. Then you can put a description in. This is going to be several options it gives you. So here's how to get into a function once it has been made and attributed to the workflow here. I can click on it and come up here, edit. Going to edit the function. And as you can see, this is a little bigger than the last one. But here again, you have your arguments. This one only has one. You can have multiple arguments. This is your variable name, and you can actually go in and choose a module, and you can choose a field from it. You can also use system variables that have been preset, which is kind of nice to use if you know you're going to have a constant number or factor that needs used all the time. The system variables are great to use. Otherwise, you go in and you just start building code. Like I said, look at here. You have your semicolon at the end of each line that tells it to execute that line. There's some ways for the developer to make sure things are working good when they go to test it. And that is pretty much how you do with custom functions with a workflow. Now, let me go back and I'll show you how the buttons go. Typically, you'd come in, let's just say on accounts, I'm going to look to see, here we have some buttons. These are custom buttons that have been made. Some of them have been made through extensions, which are a whole nother subject. And here's how you can tell if this was either from an extension or something that Zoho actually had in. You can not edit it and you cannot delete it. So you can see these are all from an extension. I have built this based on a extension, a CRM toolkit, but this is for custom. And so I can go in, I can edit, and this button happens to be making use of a widget. Here are the buttons where it typically is going to show. It can show on the details page. You can have ones that show up in the list view, whether you're editing or not. It's neat. But these are all basically powered by either widgets or custom functions. And custom functions are used in all things, it seems like. Typically, like I said before, it is used for customizing your setup, some of the actions that you do, things like that. As you can see here, this is a way to automatically send a contract on this account, which is pretty cool. So fun things like that. That's what custom functions do. Like I said, various ways to get there, various uses of them, but most importantly, custom functions are fairly easy to make. They're fairly easy to follow and understand, And here again, it's easy when you're a developer, and it's good, always good to keep up on your skills and learn new skills. And custom functions is the basis of most of development in the Zoho community. Don't forget, check out our YouTube page. Look for more interesting videos on how to. Also check out our CRM guide, our book. We also have a new one coming out soon that goes over Zoho 1. Feel free to always check out our website if you have any questions or if you need any work done, help set up your Zoho products or customization. So that's zcrmhelp.com. Check it out. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.
As always, if you found our video helpful, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. Check out our other videos on various Zoho applications. And if you'd like to get in touch with us, you can find us online at www.zcrmhelp.com.